Hey everybody, Derek Ritter here from Ritter Krieg, and we are on Sunday, I believe it's the 8th of December 2024, and a little cold outside, so I felt like some warmth and some sunshine, so I think I'm going to go for a drive in, and I'm going to make this up, June, and I'm going to call it France, the pretty countryside of France. Excuse the noise in the background. 3D printer is running if you can hear that. So what I've done, and this is going to just be a short video on just driving around. So if you're new to AFVs, maybe you'll pick up something. And if you already know all your AFV movement rules, then maybe you'll just come around for the joyride. So get a little bit of wind in your hair. So let's zoom in a little bit. So I picked my favorite tank in the whole world, which is a Panzer III, and this one's a J, I believe. So we are going to go for a drive and see what that looks like. So the we're going to look at the counter first of all. Get a little zoom in on that one, a little more zoom in on that one. And we have, if you notice, it is colored blue, the unit color on top. It is not white. That means it's closed top. So to go open top, to go crew exposed, we're going to have to do Control B or Command B if you got a Mac. Well, we're going to have to highlight it first, and then maybe that's not the right thing. Yeah, it should be Control B. Don't know why. Oh, I had my mouse cord stuck underneath my control. All right. So when we come in from off board, first thing, we don't have to spend a start movement point. We're already considered in motion, and we can choose whether we are crew exposed or not. Now, it's something a lot of people forget to do. They enter the board and then say, oh, wow, I want to use that road, so I'm going to go crew exposed. The problem is, then you go and you get next to the enemy, and you can no longer button up that movement phase. You have to wait for your advance phase. There's only 2 times in a turn, in a game turn, in other words, 2 player turns, that you can change from crew exposed to button up voluntarily, and that's 1 during the movement phase and 1 during the advance phase. So you can also button up involuntarily if you get certain results against you. So we want to use that road, so we are going to start crew exposed. All right, so we're going to go straight to the movement phase each time here. So he's going to come in. You're going to notice he has 13 movement points. Now, here's the general rule. Anything that eats uses movement factors. Anything that drinks gasoline uses movement points. So a wagon, infantry, horses, they all use movement factors, and anything with a internal combustion engine uses movement points. So he has, and there's certain subtle differences to it. So he has 13 movement points, which you can see in the top right-hand corner of the counter, or the top of the screen right here. So if you notice, there's also a oval shape around the movement points. So that means that it is fully tracked. If there was a little circle with an oval shape, that would mean it's a half track. If there was 1 round circle, it would be a armored car. And if there were 2 round circles, it would be a truck. And I think that pretty much covers them. Alrighty, so we're going to go in, and we are going, now we have the choice to come in either on, I guess that's A6 or A5 and still gain the road. So we're going to be doing that. So we come in for a half of a movement point right there. And then we continue here to a full movement point. Now, if we cross, okay, so I'm gonna just bump them up ahead here for a second. If we were to go from F5 to F4, even though we're going road to road, because the hex side doesn't have a road depiction, it's going to be considered the other terrain, not the road. So, all right, so we're here. So we're at 1. Now, we can only move in our covered arc, and our covered arc is C5, C6, so it's the 2 hexes that straddle our vertex of where we are pointed. So if we'd want to go, let's say, to B4, we would have to turn. And then now B4, C5 are in our covered arc of the vehicle covered arc. And so then we could go here. But let's go back. So we're here. So we're at a half. So we're going to keep moving. Then go to 1.5, 2. Now, any time during this, every single time I move, I can change my covered arc to a different direction. So, any way he wants to be pointed. All right, so don't forget to do that when you're moving along and you suspect a gun or you have to be pointed and give up your side armor or your rear armor. At least get that that turret frontal armor in case he does shoot at you. You at least have a chance that he hits you in the frontal facing of the turret as opposed to the rear facing of the turret. You have no choice. You might get hit in the rear facing of the tank, but of the hull. But okay, so we were at 1, 2. Then let's just straighten up our turret. All right, and then we are going to go 2.5. Now we have a wall here. We want to cross the wall, so we're going to go 4.5. One full, even though we're crew exposed on a road, it's still a full movement point to turn our covered arc. At 4.5, then to cross the wall is the cost of terrain, which in this case is open ground, +1 for the wall. So that would be an extra 2. So I think that puts us at 6.5. Now note something, when a tank crosses a wall, something else that's forgotten about often, you are giving your underbelly to any defensive fire against it. So he goes there for 6.5, and then here we'll make another 2 movement points, so that'll put him at 8.5. And if there was let's say an anti-tank gun here in F2, as it's crossing the wall, that anti-tank gun can declare a shot, and it'll be on the underbelly, and that's the aerial factor. So it's paper thin, so it's very, very easy to kill them when they're crossing a wall. So remember that. So we're at 6.5, 8.5, 9, and we are going to go here for 9.5. Now, I'm suspecting that there's some enemies around, so I don't want to be susceptible to the small arms fire, so I am going to button up. Now, I can only do this, like I said, 1 time per movement phase, 1 time per advance phase. So this is it. Once I go button up, I am not going crew exposed again. So we are going to go button up. All right. Now we're at 9.5 right here. I am going to count it at 10, and the reason why I'm going to count it at 10 is because I'm not going crew exposed again, so I'm not really going to be grabbing any more movement points. I'm sorry about the camera shaking. It's from the 3D printer that is right next to the camera. So my apologies for that. Try to hold it where I can. All right, so we'll call it at 10, even though it's 9.5, right? So then we're going to turn for 11. Now I think we're going to go bypass of this woods. Now the rule for the bypass is you have to be able to stand up a counter vertically and have enough space where you can see green on both sides. Unfortunately, between the hex side black line and the obstacle, which would be the you know what? Excuse me. I am going to pause that print. Now the camera will stop shaking. All right. Thanks for bearing with me there. So it's very hard. I don't think there's a tool built into Vassal to tell us if you can sneak by. So you just kind of use your best judgment. So he was at, I don't remember, 10 or 11 there. Let's call it 11. Can't remember. And then another 2 to be on the hex side between the woods and the hex side in bypass. Now, that'll put him at 13. He's got no more movement points to stop. We can mark him. There is a counter for this. I'm not sure where it is. Maybe it's under motion. And it's not under motion. So I am not going to go digging for it. So we're just going to remember he is in bypass of the woods. He can't be in bypass of the open ground. Can only bypass woods or buildings. So it's obvious where he is. All right, and that's the end of his turn. So we are going to mark him motion. All right. Now, we're going to skip through to the advanced phase. And the advanced phase, he's going to decide whether he wants to go crew exposed or not. And I think he does. So we're going to go crew exposed again. Why? I don't know. Just because we can. All right, now it's the enemy's turn. And now it's our turn again. We're skipping through everything to the movement phase. And we're going to continue our drive. All right, so he does not have to spend 1 to start because he is already in motion. Now we remove the motion counter because this is the active unit. We don't have to have that following him around. And we are going to go 1 to here. Now, let's go climbing some hills, okay? Let's see. I have to move this along. All right. Ooh, hill 621. Famous hill. I think this is board 2 I'm on right here. So he spent 1 to get out of the bypass. And now he is going to go, you know what? Instead of doing that, let's do this. Let's show you how to continue bypassing this wood. So first thing we have to do, and by the way, when we are in bypass, I'm just moving them aside for a second. We are considered right here at this forward vertex. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to spend 1 to turn. Even though we're in bypass, it's only 1 to turn. And then 2, 3 to move in bypass along that hex side. Now we are considered at this vertex right here. And then we're going to climb this hill. Now climbing the hill is 4 plus cost of terrain. So that's going to be 5. So we're at 1 to turn, 2, 3. That'll be 8. And then we can continue 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, I remember this map from Hube's Pocket. What a phenomenal scenario. So much fun. I don't remember where we're at. 1 to turn, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we're going to spend 1 to turn 13. Now, if I wanted to keep moving past 13, there's something you could do called ESB. But you risk becoming immobilized. And what you're allowed doing is getting 1/4 of your movement points extra, up to 1/4 of your movement points extra. So, but you have to roll. If you roll a 12, if you have a net 12, you become immobilized and you do not get to spend those movement points. So, the Germans, unfortunately, are really bad at it. I think they have a +2. And then you add another +1 for every movement point you're trying to get. So if he wanted to get 1 more movement point just to stop, let's say, we'd have to roll. Then we're going to roll, and we get a 7. I believe it's 8, 9 for being German, 10 to stop that 1 movement point. So he does it without becoming immobilized. So now he is stopped, and we are not going to mark a motion because he is no longer in motion. All right, and that's it. Now we're going to skip to German turn 3. Oh, let's button up again just for fun. That's during the advanced phase. Now, I could have done that during the movement phase or the advanced phase. Chose to do it during the advanced phase. All right. And you can do it in both. All right. Now it's German turn 3 movement phase. So he's going to start for 1. Go and bypass here, 2, 3. Because it's cheaper than going up the hill and down the hill. 4. Turn for 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. And again, we're going to mark him motion because he has no more movement points and he no longer wishes to spend a movement point and risk immobilization. So he's done. All right, on to turn 4. Let's see what else we can do here. All right. We are going to go. We don't have to spend 1 because we're already in motion. We get rid of the motion counter because now we're moving him. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go 6. Now we are going to go crew exposed so we can use that road bonus. All right. 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9. Now we're kind of stuck in this gully right here. You can tell this is a gully, that this is a lower level, not a higher level, because it goes dark to light. See how it's dark brown and then light brown? So that means that this is sunken. Because in ASL on the maps, the way that they do it is the higher you go, the darker it gets in the brown. So I don't remember what we're at. We'll call it like 8 or something like that. So we'll go 8.5, 9, and 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, and they'd like to go in here, but brush costs 2. So they're going to go 13.5, and they are going to roll for immobilization again because they're spending an extra half a movement point, which is rounded up to 1 movement point. So we are going to immobilize probably on a 10, 9 or a 10, and we get a 3. So we're lucky, and we are still in motion. All right, now we go. Now we go to, let's zoom out a little bit, see where we want to go for a drive today. Boy, I'll tell you what, headquarters is going to be pretty pissed off with us burning up all this fuel for nothing just to go for a drive. I know there's a little bit of fuel shortage. All right, I guess the next things we can do is we can go through the wheat fields, the grain, and the buildings and the woods and the orchards and the crags, except we're not allowed going through crags. All right, so we are going to start turn 5, I believe, in movement phase, and we are going to go 1, 2 through the brush, and then it's only 1 to go through the grain. So that'll be 3, 4, and then to go into the woods, this time we're not bypassing, we are actually going into the woods. We have 2 choices, 2 ways to do this. We can spend all of our movement points, or we can spend half of our movement points, and it's a different bog check. So I'm going to go get the chart. Okay, so we are going to go in at half of our movement points, and because we're going in at half of our movement points and not full movement points, we are there's going to be an additional +3 on our bog roll. So here's going to be our modifiers. If we rolled a 12, we bog. There's going to be a +3 because we're going in at half of our movement points. In other words, we're rushing in, and we're not really paying attention to where the trees are, and and we're going in at full throttle, and there's my sound effects. All right, and if we would go in at all of our movement points, there would be no +3. But regardless, there's going to also be a modifier for our type of ground pressure. Now this particular tank, because there's nothing in this corner of the tank, like a square or a circle, he has normal ground pressure, so there's another +1. So if I roll a 12, a net 12, this is going to be bogged. So we roll and we get an 8. So let's add it up. 8 + 1 for normal ground pressure, 9. And then +3 for having expended half of our movement points to get in. We are in, but bad news is we are bogged. All right, well that's bad. All right, so that ends our movement phase, no matter how many movement points we spent or have left, and they are bogged there. Now next turn, if they decide to move, let's go on to turn 6. They're going to try to move. They're going to roll 2 dice. And on a 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the colored die, they are unbogged, but it's going to take them the 2 dice multiplied together to free them. So let's do that. So they are going to roll, and they get a 4, so they are now unbogged. Now, had they rolled a 5, they'd be mired, and if they had rolled a 6, they would be immobilized. All right, now a mired vehicle trying to unbog has a +1 DRM, so it gets even worse. You have a 50-50 chance of getting mired or staying mired, and you have a 2 in 6 of becoming immobilized. So it's dangerous. All right, so he is out, and he is no longer bogged, and it took him 4 times 1, which is 4 movement points to get unbogged. So here he goes. So and I believe that counts as start MP, but you can check that for me if I might be wrong on that. So he's going to go 5 to here, 6 to here, 7 to here. We don't have enough to go in the building, so we'll do that next turn. 8, 9, 10, 10 and a half, 11, 12, 12 and a half, 13, and we're going to mark him in motion again. Alright, that's it for that. Now we're on to turn, not sure, 6 or 7, something like that. And we are going to go, don't have to start because we're already in motion. Get rid of the motion. We are going to turn for 1, 2, 3 across the wall. And remember, if you're carrying any riders going into orchards, they would now have to bail out. And of course, they're again subject to underbelly hits. So they are at 1, 2, 3, 4 to there. I'm going to turn for 5. Going to go bypass 6, 7 of the building. 8, 8 and a half, 9, 9 and a half, 10, 10 and a half. And what we're going to do is we're going to delay out. So we're at 9, we're at 10, I think. So we're going to declare, and this is one of the little idiosyncrasies of ASL. I could declare that I'm going to spend 3 movement points going into here. But I cannot go into here for a half a movement point and then declare that I'm just throwing away the last 3 movement points. I have to do something with those last 3 movement points. So before you go in, and essentially what it's meaning is you're slowing down to a crawl to spend 3 movement points going into the hex. That's what he's going to do. He's going to be at 13. We're going to put him back under motion, and that's it. Now we're on to German turn 6 or 7, whatever it was, and the movement phase, and we are going to button up before we go crashing into the building. And because we cannot be crew exposed when we go crashing into the building, and now we're going to go into the building. Now, there's a problem because this is a 3-story building, so there's a lot of rubble that could fall on our heads. Okay, so to go inside the building costs half their movement factors, which will be 6.5. And it will require a bog check, and it will be a +1 for normal ground pressure, and it will be a +4 for entering a stone building. So let's see what happens. They roll a 7, so once again our little friend is bogged. Now, had he rolled a 1, he would have rubbled the building. Had he rolled a 6, he would have fallen into the cellar, and the AFV would be destroyed in the cellar, but we would have gotten crew survival on the crew. So there's a little sleaze rule, where a sleaze trick, where you can, if you really need to take a building and you are not voluntarily allowed abandoning your AFV, or you simply don't have time to drive up to it and abandon your AFV, because like the last turn, you can do this sleazy thing where you drive into the building hoping you not only fall into the cellar, destroying the vehicle, but you also survive your crew survival roll, thereby having a multi-man counter in the building to take control of it. So yeah, it's a good way to earn yourself a punch in the nose against your opponent. So, but it's legal. So, all right. So he becomes bogged again. So let's mark him bogged. Again, his turn is over. And next turn, we are going to roll to unbog. So now it's the next turn. We'll call it turn 8. And here we go. Come on. And he is unbogged, but it cost him 8 movement points. So 8, 9, get rid of the bog. That motion should have been gone from last turn. And then we are going to turn. Now, since it's a new turn, we can go crew exposed again. So that's 10 we're at. I'll just do double hexes. 11, 12, 13. Mark a motion. We'll go right to turn 9. Movement phase. Remove the motion. Turn for 1. Oops. Turn for 1. No, we are not concealed. No, we're definitely not concealed. Turn for 1, 2, 3. Should we go in the stream? Yeah, let's go in the stream. 4, 5. Now, going across a road uphill is an extra 1, not an extra 4. So he's going up. 5.5. 7. I think I counted that right. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. And that's it for the turn. We're going to mark him motion. Now we go on to turn 10. Movement phase. We are going to go into the stream for 2, and then we are going to come out of the stream for, it's like going uphill, so it's going to be 5, 1 for the cost of terrain, and then plus 4 for elevation gain. But it is a bog check because we might be sliding in the mud of the riverbank. And a 7, I do not believe will do that. So let's check out the mods. Now that stream, by the way, is a shallow stream unless specified by SSR as moderate or deep or however the other ones go. So as normal ground pressure is +1. Snow. There would be a +1 if it was a deep stream, but there is no +1. So it is just a total net of +1 for normal ground pressure. 8 becomes a 9. He's fine. So he went in for 2, he came out for 5, so he's at 7 to here. 8, and then we're going to cross the hedge. 9, 10, so it's the same thing you pay for a wall, but you do not give up your underbelly to the hedge. All right, so we're at 10, 11, 12, 13, and we just got a radio call from headquarters saying, where the heck are you? So we are going to rush back to camp. We're going to do an ESB to get off the board. We're going to try for 1 more movement point. So it will be a 4, 5, 6, 7 with the German modifier. We are off the board. Our drive is complete. So that was lovely. All right. Well, thanks guys for watching. Thanks for spending some time with me, and we'll catch you again. Thanks.